Your Excellency, Dr. Chief Joel Siane Howard Taylor, Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Liberia and President of the Senate, Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. Bofal Chambers, Honorable Speakers of the House of Representatives, and other distinguished members of the 54th Legislature here present, the President Pro Tem, Your Excellency, Honorable Mustafa Sise Lo, Right Honorable Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament, and the 4 Deputy Speakers of the Bureau of the ECOWAS Parliament, Bienvenue au Libéria. Your Excellency, the former President, Dr. Amos Sawyer, Honorable Chairman of ECOWAS Parliament Standing Committees and other esteemed members, the head of the Liberian delegation to ECOWAS Parliament and other distinguished Liberian parliamentarians, the cabinet ministers and senior government officials here present, the dean and members of the diplomatic corps and heads of international organizations, gentlemen of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, permit me to warmly welcome our delegates from Francophone countries by saying, Bienvenue au Libéria. To delegates from Lusophone countries, I say, Benvindos à Libéria. It gives me a great pleasure and honor to be in your midst to deliver this address on behalf of the President of ECOWAS Commission, His Excellency Dr. Jean-Claude Cassibrou, who has asked me to convey his warm greetings and best wishes for a successful hosting of the ECOWAS Parliamentary Seminar and the subsequent 2019 second extraordinary session in Liberia. It is heartwarming that the ECOWAS Parliament has once again chosen a rather timely and relevant topic on transhumance and intercommunal conflicts in the ECOWAS region. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as violent conflict appears to be declining in some of our member states, the wave of insurgencies, banditry, and kidnapping in the Sahel region that is currently afflicting some West African countries sends alarming signals of the possible resurfacing of internal and regional violent conflict. So the issue involving transhumance and intercommunal conflict in West Africa is one serious challenge that our sub-region has been dealing with for some time now. Given the pervasive nature, one is tempted to ask, what are the causes and drivers of the problem of transhumance and intercommunal conflicts? I'm happy that we have so many experts that have been lined up to address this issue. Experts have proffered the problems of the growing demographic and population pressures, competition between herders and farmers over access to water and grazing areas, as well as expansion of agricultural activities. They've also identified problem of climate change and acute variability and unpredictability of rainfall. They've also identified increased proliferations of firearms, which has intensified the misunderstanding between farmers and herders and resulted to the killing of one another. They have also identified competition for scarce natural resources, local and national politics, especially failure on the part of local authorities and governments to find lasting solutions for farmers and herders to coexist peacefully, including weak enforcement of the rule of law, and more importantly, weak and sometimes non-implementation of ECOWAS protocols and regulations on transhumance. As we may recall, our head of states way back in 1998 adopted the protocol on transhumance, as well as the council regulation by the ministers in 2003, which delineates the roles and responsibilities of ECOWAS member states and the Commission in the implementations of the protocol. Honorable Speaker, Excellency, please permit me to draw lessons from Nigeria, which, as you may all know, has borne the most devastating effects of intercommunal conflict, as well as farmer-herders conflicts in recent years. This will enable us to draw lessons and profess solutions that other member states can learn from. Estimates have shown that Nigeria loses about $14 billion per annum to farmer-herders clashes. By any standard, this is a huge loss. More so for an economy that is seeking to expand and diversify. And at a time when Nigeria, due to its massive population, is doing everything possible to annex every opportunity to expand and provide employment and start up business opportunities for millions of Nigerians' youth. Now, in terms of food security dimension, because this topic has so many dimensions, let's look at the food security dimension. The pastoralists produce most of the milk and cattle for Nigeria's population, which stands at close to 200 million people, projected to reach over 250 million by 2030. Should the farmer-herder crisis worsen, it is only better to imagine the devastating effects of Nigeria's inability to guarantee food supply for its people. That the proliferation of small arms and light weapons due to the ongoing insurgency and farmer-herder issues, among others, is in itself a huge security problem and is directly linked to increased crime rate, rape, criminal destruction of livelihoods, cattle rustling, drug abuse, arson, and kidnapping, among others. Given Nigeria's peculiar diversity and its struggle to annex the benefits of the unique attributes of its multi-ethnic, multi-religious makeup, the socio-cultural implications of increasing distrust and demonizing of one ethnic group by the other seriously erodes the fabric of unity in diversity. So this will only make the concerted efforts of having to foster an identity of oneness even more elusive. So in an attempt to forestall this herdsmen's and farmer crisis, the Nigerian government has developed the Nigeria's National Livestock Transformation Plan, which we call the NLTP, which is an overarching government strategy that seeks to create a conducive environment for the transformation of the livestock, that seeks to create a conducive environment for the transformation of the livestock in Nigeria. It enumerates in detail how the agricultural subsector can become a catalyst for national prosperity and food security by bringing together the private sector, catalytic government services and capital, and targeted donor support. The 10-year strategy identifies five main pillars as priority areas. One of them is conflict resolution, justice and peace, humanitarian relief and early recovery, human capital development, and cross-cutting issues, all of which have strategic priorities that must be implemented. Now, the uniqueness of this strategy is the painstaking efforts by the government officials of Nigeria that are tasked with the conceptualizing and to engage on nationwide consultation with critical stakeholders from the bottom up to seek their views and input into the strategy document. The strategy proposes both grazing reserves and ranching options, and 3 non-ranching options, which include establishment of corridors for migrant cattle with feeding and watering points along the route, feed and feedlot production to allow cattle stay close to the home base together with watering points, as well as the establishment of marketing places close to home base. This plan presents an opportunity for more modern approaches to livestock production, the development of commercial crop production to support livestock through the supply of fodder and other feed materials, as well as the creation of cooperatives to facilitate, improve access to input, to infrastructure, to finance, market, and support services. So it is also important that member states, especially the Sahel states, they should domesticate in their national laws the ECOWAS protocols and regulations on transhumance. Member states should also develop institutional structures required for the implementations of ECOWAS transhumance protocol. With respect to intercommunal conflicts, local conflict management committees should be set up, and membership should include pastoralists, farmers, traditional authorities, representatives of civil societies, law enforcement agencies, local and state government, and in some countries, counties officials and district officials as well. The committee should, among others, define and demarcate grazing routes and grazing areas, as well as provision of necessary pastoral infrastructure. Equally, there is a need for more attention for land use rights in line with local legislation, and also to be in tandem with the ECOWAS protocol requirement on transhumance, such as identifying regional transhumance corridors, the usage of ECOWAS printed international transhumance certificate to member states. May I also call on the need for sensitization campaigns on peaceful coexistence should be undertaken in our member states. And the outcome of the report of the ministerial meetings that ECOWAS Commission organized in 2018 in Abuja on transhumance for ministers and other relevant stakeholders in charge of security in West Africa and equally in Central Africa should be implemented. We also need concrete actions to be put in place to prevent human rights abuses, including the promotion of justice and the rule of law. Furthermore, the role of women and youth in conflict prevention and management should be given more priority. Honorable Speaker, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before concluding, let me commend the Liberian government, under the leadership of His Excellency President George Manuel, for the hospitality and the massive support that the government has rendered to the ECOWAS Parliament towards hosting this historic parliamentary seminar and second extraordinary section. This is first of its kind in Liberia. In the same vein, I want to once again express sincere thanks to the Honorable Speaker of the ECOWAS Parliament and all the honorable members, including their colleagues at the national level, for choosing Liberia and for deeming it fit to openly discuss such a burning issue in our sub-region and indeed across the continent. While looking forward to a successful deliberation and implementable recommendations that will be beneficial to our community, I thank you all for your kind attention. Merci beaucoup, muito obrigado.